I only offered to help my sister-in-law with her laundry to be nice before the rain started. But when a folded note tumbled out of her basket, my entire marriage dissolved in seconds. The handwriting was unmistakable. It was my husband's. I read the instruction to sign on my behalf and realized they were not just betraying me. They were drafting my financial death sentence while I folded their socks. My name is Brooke Callahan, and I had been married for 6 years when I found out my life was being dismantled on a damp Tuesday afternoon. I was 34 years old. I lived in a quiet city on the eastern seaboard where the humidity stuck to your skin like a second layer. I was standing on the balcony of my sister-in-law's apartment, shaking out wet denim jeans because Harper had sprained her wrist playing tennis. The scene was aggressively normal. The smell of lemon-scented detergent hung heavy in the air. Down in the courtyard, the neighbors' kids were screaming in a game of tag. It was the kind of domestic peace that usually made me feel grounded. Now, I look back on that moment and realize it was just the quiet before the demolition. Harper was inside rummaging for more hangers. I lifted a heavy cluster of wet shirts from the plastic basket. A single gray sock tumbled out, dragging something else with it. It was a piece of white notebook paper, folded into a tight square and sealed with clear Scotch tape. It hit the concrete floor with a soft tap. It looked like trash. It looked like nothing. I bent down to retrieve it. Through the translucent tape, the ink was visible. My stomach dropped so hard I felt it in my knees. I knew that handwriting better than my own. I knew the sharp, aggressive hook on the letter G. I knew the way the cross on the letter T slashed upward, like a strike. And I knew the habit of writing key instructions in capital letters. It was Evan, my husband. I stared at the folded square. The words were partially obscured by the fold, but the familiarity of the script sent a cold shock of adrenaline through my veins. Why was a note from my husband inside his sister's laundry basket, and why was it taped shut like contraband? Harper stepped back onto the balcony, cradling her injured arm against her chest. She saw me holding the paper. "Oh, that Harper said," her voice light and unbothered. "Evan stopped by earlier to drop off some, random paperwork for Mom. Must have fallen out of his pocket." She smiled. It was a bright, empty smile. She had no idea I was staring at a bomb. "Right," I said. My voice sounded flat. "Just paperwork." I did not hand it to her. I slipped the paper into the deep pocket of my raincoat. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird, but my face remained perfectly still. I had spent years working in data analysis and fraud prevention before I took a step back to consult. I knew how to wear a mask. I turned back to the clothesline, but the world had shifted. The balcony was no longer a friendly family space. It was an interrogation room. I finished hanging the last shirt and wiped my hands on a towel. "I need a glass of water," I said. I walked into the kitchen. I looked at the apartment as if I were seeing it for the first time. I was not looking for coffee cups or coasters anymore. I was looking for anomalies. On the kitchen island, buried under a stack of fashion magazines, I saw the corner of a rigid cardboard envelope. It was an express mailer. The return address was ripped off, but the partial logo was red and blue. A bank. I knew that color scheme. Next to it lay a tablet, placed face down on the granite counter. The screen was not asleep. It was emitting a faint, pulsating glow against the stone surface, as if a notification had just come through but had not been acknowledged. Then Harper's phone buzzed on the counter. The screen lit up. Talia? I did not know a Talia. Evan did not have a cousin named Talia. We did not have a neighbor named Talia. Harper rushed past me, her movements sudden and jerky for someone with a sprained wrist. She swiped the notification away instantly. "Spam calls." She laughed, but her eyes did not meet mine. They are getting so relentless these days. It drives me crazy. She turned her back to me to open the fridge. I stood there, my hand in my pocket, fingers brushing against the sharp edge of the folded note. The air in the kitchen felt thin. I could smell the lie. It smelled like stale coffee and nervous sweat. I knew I had to leave. I had to get into my car. I had to open that piece of paper. I should head out before the rain starts, I said. As I walked to the door, a singular, terrifying thought crystallized in my mind. If this note was here, hidden in a laundry basket in my sister-in-law's apartment, it meant there was a document somewhere else that was currently waiting for my signature. I unlocked my front door and went straight to the kitchen counter. My hands were trembling slightly, not from the cold, but from a frequency of rage I had never felt before. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. I refreshed the feed. There it was, a pending transaction from 3 hours ago. $19,600.45. The merchant was listed as Crestline Luxury Auto. I dialed Evan. He answered on the second ring. Background noise clattering behind him. Hey, babe. Everything okay, Evan? There is a charge for nearly $20,000 on the joint reserve card at a car dealership. Silence hung on the line for a second. Then came a short, dismissive laugh. Oh, that. Yeah, I got an alert too. It is just a system error. The bank is already reversing it. Don't freak out about it. Okay, a system error doesn't usually pick a specific luxury dealership. Evan, Brooke, seriously. I am in a meeting. Stop making up problems. We will talk later. The line went dead. He had hung up on me. I stared at the black screen of my phone. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out the folded square I had stolen from Harper's laundry basket. I peeled back the Scotch tape. It was not a note. It was a manual. His handwriting was precise. It was a checklist of betrayal. Step 1. Add secondary verification number to the account. Step 2. Access portal via Harper's iPad only. Step 3. Sign exactly like the reference image. Watch the loop on the B. My eyes scanned down to the bottom, where he had pressed the pen down so hard the paper was nearly torn. Do not let her touch the Skylark Fund. That company tracks everything. I stopped breathing for a moment. Skylark. Evan thought Skylark was just a high-end investment platform or a security firm. He knew it was dangerous to his scheme because of its aggressive fraud detection algorithms. What he did not know, what I had never told him because of a strict non-disclosure agreement and a desire to keep my assets separate from my marriage, was that I helped write those algorithms. I was a silent co-founder of Skylark. He was trying to hide his theft from the very system I had built. I opened my laptop. I logged into our family cloud account. I toggled the view on our shared calendar. Nothing seemed amiss until I clicked on the options for archived layers. A hidden sub-calendar appeared in pale gray. Run errands. It repeated every Tuesday and Thursday evening from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Those were the exact nights Evan claimed he was at networking mixers. The pattern emerged instantly. I thought about the sudden interest he had taken in organizing our filing cabinet last month. I thought about the way he would borrow my phone to order takeout because his battery was supposedly dead. Yet he would take 10 minutes just to choose a pizza. He was not ordering food. He was harvesting authorization codes. He was asking me for my old passwords under the guise of helping me update my security. A normal wife might have cried. A normal wife might have thrown a vase against the wall. I did neither. I felt a cold, metallic shield slide into place over my emotions. I became an auditor. I took screenshots of the calendar. I downloaded the transaction log from the bank. I noted the timestamps of his errands and cross-referenced them with his toll road charges. I walked to my home office and opened the bottom drawer of my desk. Taped to the underside of the drawer was a small key. I used it to unlock a fireproof box and retrieved a silver, encrypted USB drive. It was my ghost drive. I held the cold metal in my palm. If you treat me like an asset. I whispered to the empty room. Then I will turn you into a file. I sat at my desk with the posture of a forensic accountant. The emotional part of my brain was currently offline, severed by the sheer necessity of survival. I logged into the desktop version of our bank's portal and navigated straight to the security settings. I bypassed the standard transaction list and clicked on the tab labeled Authorized Devices. The list populated on the screen. There was my iPhone. There was Evan's laptop. And there, added exactly 16 days ago, was a third device, Harper's iPad. Trusted. I clicked on the location history for that device. The map did not lie. The login timestamps clustered heavily around Harper's apartment complex on the riverfront. But there were outlier pings. Specifically, the device had logged into my account while moving along the interstate corridor that Evan took to work every morning. He was taking her tablet with him. He was using a device that did not belong to our household to bypass the geolocation flags that usually alerted me to suspicious activity. I scrolled down to the contact information section. My primary email was still listed, but the secondary verification number had been changed. It ended in 7714. That was not my number. It was not Evan's number. It was a ghost line, likely a burner phone or a digital voice number set up to intercept the two-factor authentication codes that should have been warning me. I opened a new tab and pulled my credit report. The page loaded slowly, spinning a small gray circle that felt like a countdown. When the dashboard appeared, the credit utilization graph was spiked red. There was a new open installment loan listed under Bridgeview Capital. The principal amount was $60,000. The account had been opened 6 days ago. I expanded the details. The primary borrower was listed as Brooke Callahan. The cosigner was Evan Mercer. He had not just stolen from me. He had positioned himself as the benevolent husband helping his wife secure a loan, while simultaneously anchoring the debt entirely to my Social Security number. I minimized the browser and opened my email client. I went straight to the trash folder. Evan was careful. But he was arrogant. He assumed I never looked at the deleted items because I was usually too busy managing the actual finances. I searched for the term Bridgeview. One result appeared. It was a PDF document labeled Vehicle Purchase and Collateral Addendum. I opened it. The buyer was me. The signature was a jagged, hesitant version of my own name, the work of someone practicing, just like the checklist in the laundry basket had instructed. But the billing address was not our house. It was a post office box in a suburb 20 miles north. I right-clicked the file and selected Properties. I needed the metadata. I needed to know where this lie had been manufactured. The author field listed Evan's user profile. The creation source was not our home printer. It was tagged North Pine Advisory Network Printer 4. He had printed the fraud documents at his office, on corporate equipment, during work hours. The note about Skylark suddenly made terrifying sense. Evan knew that Skylark's algorithms flagged behavioral anomalies, like a spouse suddenly draining accounts or taking out massive loans with mismatched IP addresses. He was terrified of the system I helped build, so he was trying to mimic my digital behavior perfectly. This was not a crime of passion or a momentary lapse of judgment. This was a premeditated financial extraction, and Harper was the staging ground. The checklist had been in her laundry. Her iPad was the trusted device. She had covered for him on the balcony with that bright, fake smile. She was either a useful idiot or an active accomplice. I picked up my phone. I needed to confirm the depth of the rot. I typed a text to Harper, keeping my tone casual and breezy. Hey, quick question. Did Evan ask you to sign or receive any papers for him recently? I can't find a document he mentioned. The 3 dots of a typing indicator appeared almost instantly. Then they vanished. Then they appeared again. Finally. Her response came through. It was a sticker of a cartoon bear hugging a heart. Below it was a short message. Small stuff. Don't worry about it. I stared at the screen. She did not say no. She did not ask what document. She told me not to worry. Small stuff. I repeated the words out loud, my voice hollow in the empty room. She called a $60,000 fraudulent loan small stuff? I placed the phone face down on the desk. I did not reply. I had seen enough. The investigation phase was over. The acquisition phase had begun. I chose the coffee shop on 4th Avenue because the espresso machine screamed like a jet engine every 30 seconds. It was the perfect acoustic shield. I sat in the back booth across from Dana Wexler. Dana had been my best friend since college, but more importantly, she was a divorce attorney who viewed marriage as a contract designed to be broken. I slid the file across the sticky table. It contained the printouts from the bank, the credit report with the $60,000 loan, and the original handwritten note from the laundry basket. Dana put on her reading glasses. She did not drink her coffee. She flipped through the pages with the speed of someone who had seen every variety of domestic betrayal. She stopped at the credit report. Then she picked up the handwritten checklist. Her expression hardened. "Brooke," Dana said, her voice dropping to a low, urgent register. "You need to file. Today. We go to the courthouse. We get an emergency order, and we freeze the assets. Right now." "No," I said. Dana looked at me over the rim of her glasses. "Excuse me, he is stealing from you. He is leveraging your credit to buy. Looks like a luxury vehicle. This isn't a marriage counseling moment. This is a crime scene." "Exactly," I replied, leaning in. "It is a crime scene. If I file for divorce today, this becomes a civil dispute. It becomes a messy argument about who authorized what charge. He will claim I gave him verbal permission. He will claim it was a misunderstanding. The courts will split the debt, and I will spend 2 years fighting to get half of my money back." I tapped my finger on the handwritten note where Evan had written the instruction to sign on my behalf. "I don't want a divorce settlement. Dana, I want a conviction." Dana picked up the note again. She studied the specific instructions about using Harper's iPad and the warning about the signature loop. "This isn't just a cheater trying to buy a car for his girlfriend," Dana murmured. "This is a script. The secondary verification number, the bridge loan, the collateral addendum. This is structured fraud. This is identity theft. Look at the bottom line." I said. Dana read it. "Do not let her touch the Skylark Fund. He knows about Skylark." I said. "Evan is a mediocre investment banker. He thinks cloud security is a password manager. He doesn't know how algorithmic fraud detection works. But here he is, warning himself about my company's specific tracking capabilities." I paused to let the implication sink in. "If he is that afraid of Skylark," I continued, "it means someone taught him to be afraid. He has a coach. Someone is walking him through this process step by step." Dana sat back. She looked impressed and slightly terrified. "Okay. So, you want to find the coach I can recommend a private investigator. He is expensive, but he is invisible." I shook my head. "I don't need someone to follow him. If we follow him, he might get spooked. I don't need to chase him. I need a place for him to walk into. I need him to think he is getting away with it until the ink is dry." I took a sip of my black coffee. It was cold. "I need you to draft a document," I said, "a post-nuptial agreement. But I don't want it to look like a separation. Make it look like a liability shield. Frame it as a way to protect his credit score from my business risks. Make him the sole owner and sole liability holder of the new car and the associated loans. Make it look like I am doing him a favor." Dana stared at me. She tapped her pen against her chin. "You want him to voluntarily sign a confession that the debt is his," Dana said. "Brooke, you are playing with fire. If he realizes what you are doing, he could empty the joint accounts before we can stop him." "He won't," I said calmly. "He thinks he is the smartest person in the room. He thinks I am just his wife who hangs laundry and pays the bills." "It is dangerous," Dana warned. "If this goes wrong—" "He has already destroyed the marriage." "Dana," I said, picking up my purse. "I am just turning on the lights in the room where he has already poured the gasoline." I stood up. I did not call the police. I did not drive to the courthouse to file a petition. I walked out into the gray afternoon, armed with silence. It was the most dangerous weapon I owned. I pulled my car into the underground garage of the North Pine Advisory Building, to the outside world, and specifically to my husband. This was a mid-tier financial consultancy firm where I worked as a senior risk analyst. It was a boring, stable job that paid well enough to explain my wardrobe, but not well enough to threaten his ego. I walked past the elevator bank that led to the main offices. I turned down a service corridor marked Authorized Personnel Only and placed my hand on a blank black panel next to the freight elevator. A red laser scanned my palm print. The doors slid open silently. I did not press a button for a floor. I simply stood there as the car descended 3 levels below the basement, down to the server farm that housed the physical brain of Skylark. The doors opened into a room chilled to exactly 65 degrees. The hum of cooling fans was a constant, low-frequency vibration in the floor. Miles Cade, the head of data security, was already standing at the central console. He did not look like a corporate drone. He wore a black hoodie and looked like he hadn't slept in 30 hours. "I was about to call you on the secure line," Miles said without turning around. "The activity on your profile just spiked again." I walked up behind him. On the massive wall of monitors, my financial identity was displayed as a glowing node in the center of a spider web. Red lines radiated out from my name, connecting to external servers, IP addresses, and bank portals. "Show me," I said. Miles tapped a few keys. The map zoomed in on a cluster of activity. "We confirmed the source of the trusted device authorization," Miles said, his voice flat and clinical. "The iPad was added to the trusted list using a handshake from a static IP address. It matches the internal network of Evan's office. He did it from his desk. And the signature I asked? It is a digital lift," Miles explained, pulling up a side-by-side comparison. "They scanned your signature from the 2022 joint tax return. They cleaned up the pixelation and are auto-filling it onto new forms, but that is not the bad news." He swiped the screen to the left. A new window opened, showing a query from a company I didn't recognize. "What is Apex Holdings LLC?" I asked. "It is a shell company," Miles said. "They ran a hard inquiry on your premarital equity portfolio 20 minutes ago. They aren't just trying to buy a car. Brooke, that $19,000 charge was a test, a ping to see if you were watching. Now that it went through, they are preparing an application for a secured business loan." I looked at the number estimated on the screen. $2 million. I read aloud. "The loan officer processing the query is listed as Graham Rook," Miles said, pointing to a name that appeared repeatedly in the logs. "He is the finance manager at Crestline Auto. He is the hub. Evan is the face, but Rook is the architect." My blood ran cold. They were going to leverage my entire life's work, drain the equity, and leave me with a 7-figure debt that would bankrupt me. Evan wasn't just skimming off the top. He was gutting me. "I can kill it right now," Miles said, his hand hovering over a red command key. "I can flag the IP, blacklist the device, and freeze the accounts. We can lock them out in 3 seconds. "No," I said sharply. Miles turned to look at me, surprised. "Brooke, they are minutes away from drafting the loan papers. If we block it now, they will just say it was a technical glitch," I said, my voice steady. "Evan will play dumb. He will say he was just checking rates. There is no crime yet, only a query. I need the crime. I need the signature." I leaned over the console. "Activate forensic logging," I ordered. "Level 5, I want to capture the IP address, the geolocation, the device ID, and screen captures of every form they fill out. I want the text messages between Evan and this Rook character. If they breathe near my data, I want it recorded. You are letting them walk right through the front door," Miles warned. "I am opening the door for them." I corrected him. I turned away from the glowing screens and looked at my reflection in the glass partition. The blue light of the Skylark logo reflected over my eyes. Evan thought he was stealing from a distracted housewife. He had no idea he was trying to rob the vault while the bank manager was watching the security feed. "They are hunting a prey," I whispered to the reflection. "They just don't know. This prey has teeth." It was nearly 11 o'clock at night when I knocked on Harper's door. I held a plastic bag containing a tube of arnica cream and a container of soup, the perfect props for a concerned sister-in-law. When Harper opened the door, she looked exhausted. Her face was pale, and her arm was still cradled against her chest in the sling. "Brooke," she asked, blinking against the hallway light. "Is everything—" "Okay, it is late. I just wanted to drop this off for your wrist," I said, stepping past her into the apartment before she could politely decline. "I know Evan is busy, so I didn't want you to be alone without supplies." Harper closed the door. She looked nervous. Her eyes darted toward the kitchen counter where the iPad was sitting. It was plugged into the wall, the screen dark, but the power indicator light glowing green. "Yeah, Evan is—" "He is stuck in a late strategy meeting." Harper lied. "He said he might pull an all-nighter." "Poor guy," I said. I walked into the kitchen and set the soup down next to the iPad. I needed 10 seconds with that screen. "Do you mind if I use your Wi-Fi for a second?" I asked, pulling out my phone. "My data is acting weird, and I need to order an Uber for the ride home. My car is making a funny noise." "Sure," Harper said. "It is on the fridge." As I turned to point at the magnet, I tapped the screen of her iPad. It woke up. I didn't try to unlock it. I simply tapped the small information icon in the corner of the login screen. The device serial number and the network configuration ID popped up. I snapped a photo with my phone in one fluid motion, then swiped the screen black again before she turned back around. "Got it," I said. "Thanks. I need to use the bathroom," Harper said, clutching her sling. "Make yourself at home." The moment the bathroom door clicked shut, I moved. I did not go to the couch. I went straight to the laundry basket in the corner of the living room. It was exactly where it had been earlier. I reached into my purse and pulled out the piece of paper I had spent the last 3 hours preparing. It was a perfect forgery. I had studied Evan's handwriting for a decade. I mimicked the sharp hook of his G and the aggressive slash of his T. I had folded it into a tight square and taped it with the exact brand of clear tape he used, but the words inside were different. I had replaced his instructions with my bait. Final step: meet at dealership at 9 o'clock. Use keyword override to clear the fund. I have signed the waiver. I dropped the fake note into the basket and tucked it under a gray sock, positioning it exactly where the original had been. It took me 12 seconds. My hands were steady. My breathing was slow. I was not nervous because I was not committing a crime. I was planting evidence. I heard the toilet flush. I stepped back and was standing by the door when Harper emerged. "Ride is on the way." I said, "Get some rest." "Harper." I left the apartment building and walked into the cool night air. The rain had stopped. I pulled out my phone and sent a secure message to Miles. Bait swapped. My phone buzzed almost immediately. But it was not Miles. It was Evan. "Hey, babe. Sorry about the late night. Tomorrow morning, come with me to the dealership. I want you to see the papers when I return the deposit, just to give you peace of mind." He was walking right into it. He thought he was taking me there to silence me. He did not know he was taking me there to witness his destruction. "Okay," I typed back. I took a screenshot of the text and uploaded it to the forensic folder. An hour later. I was in bed when Evan came home. He smelled like expensive scotch and nervous energy. He stripped off his suit and climbed into bed beside me. He kissed my shoulder, thinking I was asleep. I lay perfectly still in the dark, listening to the rhythm of his breathing. He inhaled and exhaled like an innocent man. He had no idea that the piece of paper waiting for him in his sister's laundry basket was a map to his own prison cell. The morning sun hit the glass facade of Crestline Luxury Auto with a blinding glare. Evan guided me through the showroom doors with his hand pressed firmly against the small of my back. It was not a gesture of affection. It was the grip of a director positioning an actor on a stage. He was steering me. "Just follow my lead," Evan murmured, his voice tight. "We go in, we sign the release, we get the deposit back, and we leave. Simple." We walked toward a sleek, black SUV parked in the center of the showroom floor. It was polished to a mirror finish. Leaning against the hood was a woman who looked like she had just stepped out of a fashion editorial. It was Talia Raines. She wore a white blazer that cost more than my first car. She did not look surprised to see us. She looked bored. As we approached, she ran her manicured hand along the curve of the fender, stroking the metal as if it belonged to her. She looked at Evan, then her eyes slid to me. Her expression was a mix of pity and amusement. "You brought her," Talia said. Her voice was smooth and cold. "We are just clearing up the paperwork." "Talia," Evan said quickly. Before I could speak, a man in a sharp blue suit walked out of the glass office behind the car. He had the predatory smile of someone who worked on commission. This was Graham Rook. Ev Rook called out, extending a hand. "Good to see you, buddy. We are all set up on the digital pad." I caught the slip immediately. "Ev. Not Mr. Mercer. Not sir." They were friends. This was not a customer service interaction regarding a system error. This was a closing ceremony. Rook held out an iPad. The screen was dense with tiny text, the kind designed to discourage reading. "Mrs. Mercer," Rook said, smiling at me. "If you could just authorize the transfer of responsibility in the credit extension here, it just moves the liability off the initial hold so we can refund the deposit." I took the heavy tablet. I did not sign. I began to read. I scrolled up, fighting the urge to vomit as I saw the terms. It wasn't a refund document. It was a guarantor agreement. "Wait," I said, looking up with wide, feigned confusion. "Why does it say guarantor? And what is this about a secondary collateral extension?" Evan stepped closer. His cologne was overpowering. "It is just legal jargon." "Brooke," Evan said, his patience snapping. "It means the dealership guarantees the refund. Stop reading every word. We are holding everyone up. But it says the term is 72 months. I said, my voice trembling slightly to sell the act. "That seems long for a refund." Rook laughed nervously. "Standard boilerplate. Ma'am, the system just needs a signature to process the void. Just sign it. Brooke." Evan hissed into my ear, his fingers digging into my elbow. "Stop making a scene. You are embarrassing me." I looked at him. I saw the sweat beading on his upper lip. He was terrified. He needed this signature to close the loop before the bank audits hit. "Okay," I said softly. "I just want to help." I lifted the stylus. I lowered it to the glass screen. In the Skylark system, every user has a distress protocol. It is a specific variation of their signature used only when they are being coerced into authorizing a transaction. For me, it was a subtle break in the loop of the letter K and an extra dot after the last name. I signed Brooke Callahan. I executed the break. I added the dot. I handed the iPad back to Rook. "There," I said. Rook tapped the submit button with a flourish. And, "We are processing." He waited for the green check mark. It did not come. Instead, the screen flashed a harsh, bright red. A bold notification popped up. "Verification hold, security review, level 1 lockdown." At the exact same moment, the black SUV behind us made a loud mechanical clunk. The hazard lights flashed once, blindingly bright, and then went dead. The electronic locks engaged with a snap that echoed through the showroom. Rook tapped the screen frantically. "What the? The system is frozen. It is locked out." Evan stared at the red screen. The color drained from his face. He turned to me, his eyes wide with a dawning, horrific realization. "Brooke," he stammered, his voice cracking. What did you just do?" I stood there, surrounded by their expensive lies and their panic. I smoothed the front of my coat. "I didn't do anything. Evan," I said, my voice perfectly calm. I just signed my name. By noon, my phone had become a weapon of mass distraction. Talia Raines had decided that if she could not get the car, she would get the narrative. She posted a story on her Instagram account, a black screen with white text that vanished after 10 seconds. It alluded to an unnamed jealous wife who was abusing her corporate power to humiliate a supportive husband. She did not tag me, but she tagged the location of the dealership. Within an hour, her army of influencer friends had reposted it, adding captions about toxic partners and control freaks. Then came the text from Harper. "You have gone too far. Brooke, Evan is just trying to protect the family finances. You are paranoid and you are embarrassing us." I stared at the screen. Harper had stopped pretending to be the neutral sister-in-law. She had chosen her side. She knew about the loans. She knew about the fake signatures. She was not a bystander. She was a beneficiary. A Google alert pinged on my laptop. A mid-tier financial gossip blog had just published a blind item titled "Fraud Tech Executive Weaponizes Data to Stalk Spouse." The article claimed an anonymous source had revealed that a high-ranking official at a security firm was using proprietary algorithms to track her husband's innocent spending. Evan was working fast. He was trying to get ahead of the story by painting me as the villain who abused her power. I did not reply to Harper. I did not comment on the blog. I picked up my secure line to Miles. "Initiate the compliance package," I ordered. "Redact the personal identifiers, but release the system logic logs to the legal department. I want a time-stamped report proving that the security hold was triggered by an automated signature mismatch, not a manual override. Prove that the code caught him, not me." Dana called me 10 minutes later. Her voice was tight. "Brooke, I just heard from Evan's family lawyer," Dana said. "They are circling the wagons. They want to call this a misunderstanding. They are proposing a reputation management agreement. Basically, they want you to agree to consolidate the assets into a family trust to protect Evan's image, and in exchange, they won't sue you for defamation. They want me to pay for his crimes to save his reputation." I said. "They are betting on you being scared of the bad press," Dana warned. I hung up. I sat in my living room, surrounded by the silence of a house that felt less like a home and more like a crime scene. I opened Talia's social media profile again. I did not engage. I archived. I took screenshots of every story, every timestamp, and every comment. I was building a timeline. Then I found it. The golden detail. 3 weeks ago, Talia had posted a photo of a cocktail on a marble table. In the corner of the frame, resting casually next to the drink, was a set of car keys with a distinct leather fob. She had tagged the location as the Onyx Lounge. The timestamp was Tuesday at 8 o'clock in the evening. I pulled up my own records. That was the exact date and time Evan had claimed he was at a partner meeting for a merger. He had lied about his location to me, but Talia had broadcasted the truth to the world. I circled the date in red on my screen capture and emailed the file to Dana. "I do not need to win on the internet." I typed, "I need to win in front of a jury." My phone rang. The screen showed husband. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Brooke Evans' voice was soft, trembling with a performance of vulnerability. "Baby, please, this has all gone crazy. I am so sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I was just trying to manage some debt and I got scared." He paused, waiting for me to comfort him. When I didn't, he continued, "Can we just meet? Please. No lawyers, no family. Just you and me. I will sign whatever you want. I just want my wife back." He sounded like he was crying. It was a good performance, but I knew he was calling me because his lawyer had told him the defamation angle wouldn't hold up against the forensic data. He was desperate. "Okay," I said. "I will meet you. Thank you." He exhaled. "I will come home." "No," I said. "Meet me tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Come to your office building. I want to do this professionally." "My office?" he asked, confused. "Why there?" because I want to make sure everything is official." I lied. He hesitated, then agreed. He thought he was meeting me on his turf, in the building where he felt powerful. He had no idea that beneath the floorboards of his office lay the server room that had already condemned him. "I will see you there," I said, and ended the call. The ambush began at 7 o'clock in the morning. I was still brewing my coffee when I heard the key turn in the lock. Evan had not come home the previous night, but now he was here, and he had brought reinforcements. His parents walked in first, their faces set in grim masks of disappointment, followed by Harper, who refused to make eye contact with me. They did not sit down. They stood in my living room like a tribunal. "We need to talk about your behavior," Evan's mother said, her voice trembling with staged righteousness. "Evan told us everything. He told us how you are tracking him, how you are suffocating him with your paranoia." Evan stood behind them, looking like a man broken by a cruel wife. His eyes were red-rimmed. He had untucked his shirt to look disheveled and sympathetic. "I just wanted to provide for us," Evan said, his voice cracking perfectly on the last word. "And you turned it into an investigation. You are making me look like a criminal in front of my own family." He walked over to the coffee table and slapped a thick folder down on the wood. The cover page read, "Family Trust Restructure and Liability Consolidation." "But I am willing to fix it," Evan said, wiping his nose. "I had our lawyers draw this up. It creates a trust. It protects us from the audit you triggered. We just need to sign it, move the assets into the bucket, and the bank will back off." I picked up the document. I flipped to the section on governance. It was not a protection plan. It was a surrender. The terms appointed Evan as the sole trustee with unilateral power to encumber assets. It also contained a clause that retroactively validated all prior debts incurred by either party as joint venture obligations. He was trying to get me to sign a retroactive permission slip for his theft. "You want me to sign this?" I asked. "It is to save the family." "Brooke," his father barked, "stop being so difficult." I did not argue. I simply pulled my phone from my pocket. I opened a voice memo file I had recovered from the cloud backup of Evan's car interface. I pressed play. Evan's voice filled the silent living room, shrill and panicked. "Rook, listen to me. We have to move the funds before Skylark sees it. If that system flags the collateral, I am dead. I don't care about the interest rate. Just wash the title." The silence that followed was suffocating. Evan's mother looked at her son. She knew what money laundering sounded like. She knew he wasn't talking about a misunderstanding. He was talking about evasion. "Evan," his father asked, his voice low. "What? What is that?" Before Evan could spin a new lie, the doorbell rang. It was a sharp, intrusive sound that shattered the tension. I opened the door. Dana stood there, holding a manila envelope. She did not look at Evan's parents. She walked straight to Evan and shoved the papers against his chest. "You have been served," Dana said coldly. "Emergency petition for divorce and a temporary restraining order on all financial assets. The accounts were frozen 10 minutes ago." Evan stared at the papers. The color drained from his face, replaced by a flush of violent red rage. He threw the papers onto the floor. You can't do this," Evan screamed, the victim mask falling away to reveal the desperate, cornered animal underneath. "You think you can just lock me out? I am the one who manages everything. You are nothing without my connections." He scrambled backward, away from Dana, away from his parents who were now looking at him with horror. He fumbled for his phone. "Rook," he muttered, his fingers shaking so hard he almost dropped the device. I need Plan B. Now. Do it now." He ran out the back door into the yard, pacing frantically on the grass, shouting into the receiver. I watched him through the sliding glass door. I knew what Plan B was. He was telling Rook to physically move the cars, to liquidate the cash reserves that weren't in the banking system. and to run. I texted Miles. He is activating the contingency. "Do not stop him," Miles replied instantly. "Tracking active. We are logging every move." I watched my husband disappear around the side of the house. A moment later, my phone buzzed. It was a text from him, sent from the driveway while he was fleeing. "I still love you. This is all a mistake. Just sign one last paper and I can fix it. Please, don't let them ruin me." I took a screenshot of the text. It was the final piece of the puzzle. He was still trying to con me, even as he ran. I typed my reply. "Okay. Meet me." I sat at the head of the long obsidian conference table inside the command center. To Evan, this building was just North Pine Advisory. He had never been to the sublevel before. He had never seen the room where the walls were lined with floor-to-ceiling monitors, pulsating with the blue and white data streams of the Skylark algorithm. The door opened at exactly 9 o'clock. Evan walked in, straightening his tie, wearing his apology face. He expected a marriage counselor or a mediator. Instead, he stopped dead in the center of the room. He stared at the massive central screen. It was displaying a timeline. His timeline. Every fraudulent loan application, every forged signature, and every secret text message to Talia was mapped out in high-definition red graphics. Then he saw the logo rotating above my head. "Skylark," Brooke Evan whispered, his voice barely audible in the humming room. "What? What is this place? Why is the Skylark logo here?" I tapped a key on my laptop. The screen changed to the corporate organizational chart. At the very top, next to the CEO, was a silhouette labeled Founder, Chief Algorithm Architect B. "Callahan, you spent months terrified that Skylark would catch you," I said, my voice echoing off the glass walls. "You didn't realize that Skylark isn't just a software." "Evan, it is me." Evan staggered back, gripping the back of a leather chair. You are the founder, but you said you were just an analyst." "I lied." I replied simply. "Just like you lied about the overtime. Just like you lied about the car." I slid a single document across the table. It was titled Stipulated Divorce and Debt Liability Assumption. "Sign it," I ordered. "This states that you accept full and sole responsibility for the $60,000 loan, the $2 million business credit line attempt, and all associated legal fees. It also waives any claim to my premarital assets and grants me a permanent restraining order." Evan looked at the paper, then up at me. His eyes darted around the room, looking for an exit. "I can't sign this," he stammered, sweat breaking out on his forehead. "This admits to everything. I can say Talia made me do it. Or Rook is the finance guy. He tricked me." I shook my head. I tapped the keyboard again. The monitors behind me filled with his text logs. "Push the paper. Rook. She is clueless. Just get me the cash. Use Harper's iPad. It bypasses the geo fence." The words were 10 feet tall. There was no hiding. "You weren't a victim, Evan." I said, "You were the architect." Before he could beg. The double doors at the back of the room opened. 3 agents from the Federal Financial Crimes Division walked in. They did not look like local police. They wore Navy windbreakers and carried federal warrants. They didn't ask me for a statement. They already had the entire forensic package I had uploaded to their server an hour ago. "Evan Mercer," the lead agent announced, "we have a warrant for your arrest for wire fraud, identity theft, and bank fraud." Evan turned pale gray. No. Wait, Rook. Talk to Graham Rook. He will tell you I didn't know Mr. Rook is currently in custody and cooperating fully to reduce his sentence," the agent said, snapping a pair of handcuffs from his belt. "He gave us the ledger, and Ms. Raines was picked up at her condo this morning for criminal conspiracy. You are the last one left, Mr. Mercer." Evan looked at the agents, then back at the document on the table. He realized the game was over. If he signed, he kept the debt but maybe showed cooperation. If he didn't, The federal case would bury him for 20 years. His hand shook violently as he picked up the pen. He could barely hold it. He looked at me one last time, his eyes filled with tears of self-pity. "Brooke, please, sign it," I said. He scribbled his name. It was the only honest signature he had made in months. The agents stepped forward. The metallic click of the handcuffs sounded like a gavel banging down. I watched them lead him out. He didn't look back. He looked small. I stood up and collected my things. I took my encrypted hard drive, my passport, and the signed confession. I walked out of the sublevel, up the elevator, and into the lobby. I stepped out of the building into the bright, blinding sunshine of the morning. The air tasted clean. I took a deep breath and unlocked my car. That night, I only swapped a piece of paper, but this morning, I swapped my whole life. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I would love to know where you are tuning in from, so please comment below with your city or country so we can connect. If you enjoyed this revenge story, please subscribe to the Victoria Revenge Stories channel, like this video, and hit the hype button to help this story reach even more people.